One of the largest industries that is producing methane and consuming water in the United States right now is the food industry, in particular the meat industry. And we also find, if you watch a fascinating video, Forks Over Knives, that the Bill Clinton Henry Kissinger diet is a plant-based diet, entirely plant-based diet, and these people are using this to stop heart disease. It actually reverses heart disease. Every 5 years, the USDA comes out with a new set of dietary guidelines, and they're working on 2015s right now. And Julie Gunlock is quite concerned that they might be, A, suggesting that we should consider a plant-based diet, and which would be a whole lot nicer for the earth, and B, that Kate Clancy, who was billed as a food systems consultant, I'm reading from the Independent Women's Forum guest alert here, came to the podium and explained that the DGAC, the agency that's putting together these recommendations for food, how we eat, must integrate environmental concerns into the guidelines. She called for plant-based diets to contribute to food security and sustainability of land, air, and water. Julie Gunlock with the Independent Women's Forum, IWF.org. She is the Culture of Alarmism Project Director with the IWF and the author of From Cupcakes to Chemicals. Julie, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me on.
So why are you opposed to the U.S. Department of Agriculture recommending to us that we eat less meat and that we grow, I guess that's a euphemism, but I don't know the proper word to use, less meat. What's wrong with that?
Well, look, I think it's really important that people consume a lot of vegetables, and I think it's important that they switch to leaner cuts of meat. I agree with them on that, but I'm very concerned about people who live under the poverty level in this country who struggle every day with food costs. I really worry that they are not going to be able to provide their children nutritious meals that meet the calorie requirements. And the bottom line is even the DASH diet, which this committee actually praises, recommends lean meats and does not recommend going to a plant-based diet. It's simply impossible to provide a child the calories they need from, entirely living on nuts and seeds and beans and vegetables.
Well, for what it's worth, not to contradict you, but my wife and I have both been vegetarians since we were 16 years old. We raised all three of our kids as vegetarians. One of our three kids continues to be not just a vegetarian, but has been a vegan for 20 years. And our kids are now 30, 35, and 40, and they're all incredibly healthy.
Well, that's great for you.
And it's a lot cheaper to eat that way, particularly if you're poor.
I don't agree with that. I think the committee is also recommending going organic, buying locally produced meat, grass-fed beef. These things are more expensive. Tom, I actually just went to the grocery store. I mean, I don't know where you shop, but at the grocery store, those items, organic, local, grass-fed beef, line-caught fish, these things are more expensive. And conventionally produced milk and dairy and meat and vegetables are perfectly fine for people. And we need to be, what I wish that this committee was doing was advising people on the cuts of meat, for instance, leaner meats, and what constitutes, like, using a ground beef that only has 10% fat. These are recommendations that people can really use.
But, Julie, it takes thousands of gallons of water to produce a pound of beef. I mean, right. and my experience has been that, it might cost more to eat organic beef or line-caught salmon, but why eat either one of them at all? It's a lot cheaper to eat potatoes and broccoli and oatmeal.
But those vegetables do not have the higher protein quality. And
yes, they do.
The amino acids that only come from
Julie, that science has been completely disproven. I know Frances Moore Lappé. She wrote, Diet for a New for a Small Planet back in the 80s, and it was a big hit. And she suggested that beans don't have tyrosine and rice doesn't have I forget the amino acid. And these are essential amino acids. But if you combine the two of them, then you get a complete because there's 8 or 9 amino acids that we don't produce in our body. You get all the essential amino acids. It was 10 years later that E.G. Nasser published a piece called "The Amino Acid Homeostasis in the Canine Gut Lumen," in which he inserted a tube into the middle of a dog's small intestine and large intestine, and discovered that the intestinal slurry that was in there, regardless of what you fed the dog, always had a balance of all the amino acids necessary, because 50% of the contents of the gut at any given time, at least the gut beyond the small intestine, is the body recycling itself. The liver, blood cells are dying off at literally millions an hour, and other cells in the body die, and the lining of the stomach and the large and small intestine replaces itself every 3 days. You are constantly adding your own meat to the food. And so it's impossible to produce an amino acid deficiency. There is not a single case anywhere in the world in all of human history of anybody who had that disease that Frances Moore Lappé in her book, and she was a writer, not a scientist, by the way, and like I said, I know her. She's changed her tune on these things, that she posited could happen, an amino acid deficiency. The only amino acid deficiency that exists is kwashiorkor. I've seen it. I worked with starving children in Uganda. We took over the Namalo prison farm during the war with Idi Amin. I had 20,000 people who were dying, 300 a day dying. They had the big bellies. But that was starvation. I
think the critical thing we need to remember here is that people, for very little money, can get the nutrients they need out of eating a small amount of lean meats.
They can also get it out of fruits and vegetables.
I know that you say that your entire family is vegetarian. You clearly make more than people who live under the poverty level, Tom. And so
I haven't all my life, Julie. When Louise and I were first married, we literally saved up all week long to go to Taco Bell to get a vegetarian taco, which was our treat for the week.
That certainly is a treat. But I'm telling you that I just think that people who live under the poverty line are not going to be able to afford organic milk. I mean, I cannot afford organic milk.
Milk's not good for you.
I can't afford organic vegetables. And so to suggest to the American public that not only do they need to do away with meat in their diets, but then switch to this sort of whole foods type of eating and shopping is absurd.
Well, I'm suggesting it. Organic fruit and vegetables and grains and nuts and seeds are less expensive than even non-organic meats and fish, and they're better for you. You don't get heart disease. You don't get obesity.
I disagree with you. I think that there are some lean cuts of beef that are very reasonably priced. But the bottom line is this committee is supposed to be making nutrition recommendations, and it is absurd to suggest that Americans should switch all to a vegetarian diet. It's unrealistic. It's not going to happen.
But what if our eating meat is killing our planet, Julie?
Well, I don't agree with that, Tom. I don't agree that the meat industry is turning our planet into, the Blade Runner. I think that the meat industry, and let's not also forget that the food industry has taken billions of calories out of the marketplace. They are providing Americans the choices. Americans can have meat, but they can also have a plant-based diet. That is because the food industry gives us the choices.
No, it's because we have gardens, or we should.
What's because we have gardens?
We can have a food-based diet, or plant-based diet.
I can't imagine. I'm a busy mom. I don't have time to grow every fruit and vegetable.
Yeah, neither do I. Neither do I. That was a little too glib by half. My apologies. Julie Gunlock. Julie, you're a good advocate for your cause. IWF.org is the website. She's the author From Cupcakes to Chemicals and the Culture of Alarmism project director for the Independent Women's Forum.